A history of Bodie, America's most notorious ghost town. Bodie's story began in 1859, after the major gold rush period in California. When four prospectors struck gold in a small valley 75 miles southeast of Lake Tahoe. The prospectors came to this specific part of California, known as the Mother Lode region, in search of the much sought-after gold. This small, gold-laden valley, and the now developed mining outpost was hit by a violent blizzard shortly after the four prospectors discovered the gold. W.S. Bodie, one of the four, died as a result from the blizzard. This death gave the freshly settled district its name. Stroke of luck. The district's name spelling changed in 1862 when a painter who lived in the next town overwrote a sign that read Bodie Stables. When the residents loved the misspelling better than the original Bodie, the district permanently changed it to Bodie. The hot boom of gold in Bodie faded almost as quickly as it appeared. In its prime, there were a large number of wealthy companies that had bought claims at Bodie, developing multiple mines and two stamp mills. But by 1868, the financially invested in mines and mills were completely abandoned. It appeared that Bodie had already been nearly bled dry of all gold, and the difficult terrain of Bodie didn't help the oncoming hardship either. A glimmer of hope remained in a small bunch of prospectors and miners. For 7 years, a minimal amount of gold trickled in, but that seemed to be enough for the remaining gold hunters in Bodie to stick around. More mines, tunnels, and shafts were dug. Other residents made the little currency they had by washing placer gravel. The luck of Bodie finally struck once again when one of the mines, Bunker Hill, caved in 1875. What could have been the beginning of a huge downfall for Bodie turned into its saving when the mine collapse gave way to a huge body of gold. There was so much of it that word got all the way to San Francisco, and a wave of city prospectors flocked to get a piece of what Bodie had. The exposed gold mine was so prodigious and fruitful that a group of capitalists formed a company in Bodie and bought out the entire claim. The newly formed Standard Company ended up deeply benefiting from this purchase. During the year 1877, Standard was able to produce a whopping $784,523 in both gold and silver bullion. That would roughly equal over $17.5 million today. A boomtown. Bodie became full of new residents and miners. More and more wealthy companies and investors bought shares in this now booming town. All of Bodie and even outsiders became heavily optimistic that this was going to be one of the most prosperous towns in the region. High-spending investors from both San Francisco and New York City practically threw money into Bodie in order to dig deeper mines to find what they were sure to be even more gold. Except for the fact that there wasn't any evidence to show that there was more gold to find. By the near end of 1878, 22 mines were dug with incredibly expensive machines for the search for next big payday. Settlers came from all over to Bodie to be a part of the wealth. In a year, the population grew from 7,000 to 8,000 residents. Because of the overflow of people, all on the hunt for gold, Bodie fell victim to becoming quite the violent Wild West boomtown. The decline. It didn't take long for the inevitable in Bodie. A mere couple years after the immaculate growth of the town, the decline began to set in. The expensive machinery used in the multiple mines and mills needed more expensive upkeep and supplies. Hardly any gold was being found anymore. Residents weren't able to work in a mining town that wasn't much mining of anything. A few mines that seemed so hopeful just a year or two prior were completely abandoned, and the developed companies weren't coming out with much more than mere silver. Even before the new year of 1881, people began leaving Bodie, trying to find the next profitable town. The boomtown's population dwindled and dwindled until it reached a tiny 800. For those 800 people, Bodie had just enough left in it to support them for 3 more decades, however, barely. While some companies were still able to continue digging their mines, when they would find gold, it was hardly enough for the company, let alone the workers. Finally, the digging and mining stopped, proving fruitless. The already low profit coming into Bodie continued to fluctuate, but ultimately it plummeted. Companies tried to cut down on expenses any way they could, but more residents left. The very first company to form from Bodhi's prime, the Standard Company, gave up in 1913, deeming Bodhi depleted of riches. The Standard was the town's most wealthy mine and company. The remaining handful of companies still open continued the struggle to stay afloat. The years following Standard's closing, some hopeful prospectors tried to revive Bodhi's hills and mines, but to no avail. New technology of the 1900s motivated companies to attempt to build Bodhi's economy again. By the time World War II and its hardships hit, barren Bodhi was abandoned once again. Not long after, Bodhi's population dropped to zero. Ghost town. Residents left whatever they couldn't carry behind in Bodhi. Old shelves in general stores and bars were left stocked, people left furniture and structures all behind. In 1962, it was decided that Bodhi would officially become a National Historic Site and a State Historic Park. The town was declared to be in arrested decay, which orders the preservation of ruins. The now completely abandoned Bodhi has become one of California's most preserved ghost towns. Travelers can visit Bodhi, walk the dirt streets, and explore the preserved ghostly ruins. Visitors will even hear a spooky ghost story or two. Ghost stories from Bodhi. There are many supernatural stories associated with the ghost town of Bodhi. Perhaps the most prevalent is the tale of Bodhi's curse. Myths surrounding the abandoned town state that anyone who removes an item from Bodhi, even something as small as a rock or nail, will be plagued with bad luck until that item is returned to Bodhi. This claim is backed up by a book on display in Bodhi's visitor center, which contains a large collection of letters addressed to Bodhi Rangers. Each of these letters had an item taken from Bodhi enclosed within it, and an explanation from the senders who hoped that the return of the item would relieve them of the string of bad luck they'd seen since their visit. One of Bodhi's largest homes is also one of its most haunted. The John S. Kane residence is haunted by a tragic past and a woman scorned. John was a wealthy man and chose to invest in the help of a Chinese woman who was to assist maintaining the house and caring for his family. Rumors soon spread that this woman was having an affair with John, which led to her losing her job, being outcast by the townspeople and sadly taking her own life. Since her death, the ghost of this woman has been said to occupy the property. Poltergeist activity has been reported. The woman's apparition has been seen staring out of windows, and adults who have stayed within the property have been physically attacked by an unseen presence. This is not the only haunted property remaining within Bodhi. The Gregory House is reportedly haunted by the spirit of an older, unknown female. She has been sighted all around the house, usually busy knitting. The old Mendocini house also has many paranormal stories linked to it. Years ago, this was a family home, and the disembodied laughter and sounds of children playing in the front yard is still commonly reported. The ranger who now lives in the house believes the spirits of these children remain and continue to play cheeky tricks, like pulling off his bed sheets when he is trying to go to sleep. The ghostly smells of homemade Italian cooking also randomly appear within the home. Such a famous mining town wouldn't be complete without a haunted mine. The actual mines are closed off to the general public due to safety concerns, yet they were never the safest of places even when in operation. Accidental deaths were common in this hazardous occupation, and some think that lost spirits may still be trapped within the abandoned mines, where rangers have reported hearing voices and screams. There's also said to be the entity of a white mule, which died on the job after having its back broken within the mines. Bodhi's past contains many deaths, and so the town required a large cemetery within close vicinity. The Bodhi Cemetery is not without its own ghost story. It is told that the spirit of young Evelyn Myers haunts the area around her angel-shaped tombstone. She died under tragic circumstances at the age of 3, when she was victim to a freak accident that saw her struck in the head with a pickaxe. Her ghost has been seen by many children within the cemetery, who informed their parents of a little girl wanting to play with them.